Welcome back. You're watching The Buck Stops Here, turning our attention to that other big story, the murder that has the country transfixed. Today, Indrani Mukerji and her ex-husband Sanjeev Khanna were produced in court along with the driver. All three are facing charges of murder. Today, two new charges have been added: attempt to murder, this vis-a-vis her son Mikhail, and poisoning. However, in a new twist, Indrani Mukerji's lawyers are claiming that they were not allowed private access to her and that she was roughed up and hit by the cops. The police have denied this. As the custody of all three accused is extended, in a sense, we know no more than we did a few days ago. This is murder in the age of media, and it's also raising interesting and difficult questions for the media. How should the media be covering this entire case, and has the media done its job so far? Let's introduce our panel this evening. With me in the studio is Dr. Kiran Bedi, who's of course one of our best known and best respected police officers. Also with me is Nalini Singh, senior journalist, author and commentator. Joining me from Mumbai tonight is Mrinalini Deshmukh, well-known lawyer, also somebody who gave Indrani Mukerji advice during her divorce from Sanjeev Khanna. And also joining us from Mumbai is Gayatri Rangachari Shah, a well-known journalist and commentator. I will start with you, Kiran. What do you make of everything that has happened so far? Is it being played according to the book? You actually have a very high-profile police commissioner, Rakesh Maria, conducting every single interrogation himself. Is that typical? Is that usual?
No, it's unusual. But this case is also very unusual.
Yeah.
It's got all, you can tick the boxes.
It's got every element.
You can tick the box in every element. So therefore, I think I'm glad he's kept it under his control. Otherwise, you would have probably diverted it elsewhere of a lot of leakages, and it could have gone the different direction. So in a way, I think I give credit because he's doing it along with his work.
Yeah.
So what else?
Do you believe that the media is taking on the role of the police, and do you believe that's a good thing? Because that's something we get feedback. Some people say you're doing a great job. Some people say you're not the cops, you're not the investigators, lay off.
I see you're not passing judgment so far. You are following questions which are being raised, and you're releasing what is credibly
and that is our job.
Yeah. So I don't see it yet rushing to, you're not playing the prosecutor right now, which many earlier cases you did. So you mean the generally.
Yeah.
So I think there seems to be balance. You're only stating what is getting exposed, what is getting known, and I think you are probably also driving the investigation in the sense on the speed of it.
Yeah,
the
pace of it, and the focus on it. Nalini, you know, as Kiran said, it ticks every box, so it makes for an automatic story. But for example, today we took the decision to actually lead with the assassination of an academic in Karnataka. And a number of people said he's never going to get the same attention as Indrani Mukerji in this murder. Is it because this is more bizarre than anything we've ever seen before? Is it because we have a sense that everybody is lying? Is it because there's so many unanswered questions, a missing first husband, a son who says his mother tried to spike his drink and kill him, talks of a hitman paid to kill him? You wonder why the son was silent. You wonder why the boyfriend of Sheena Bora, Rahul Mukerji, Peter Mukerji's son, was silent all these years. It's bewildering.
You know, I would say that the tragedy of the killing of Professor Kalburgi in Dharwad is something which we are not talking about today, because for all the reasons that you have just just identified, that Dharwad, this is Mumbai, Kolkata, etc. Of course, there's Guwahati also,
yeah.
Metropolitan. Also, this is the media itself. This is Peter Mukerji. This is page
media tycoon.
This is, I would say,
people like us.
Yeah, people like us, of course. But I would say that, you know, a young woman has been murdered, or a young woman is missing and presumed murdered, if one wants to be very, very careful just now. Now, the whole point is going to be that the focus must be on evidence and motive. And I think we're talking about the media. The media is what the media is doing really at the moment is hard news, core news as you and I know it, which is that so and so has been arrested, this is what has been discovered, etc. Hard news. The other one is discretion, and it's in the discretion that you may fault the media a little bit. But I think I would say that in this case, the media does not seem to have gone as overboard as it did in the Arushi Talwar case, although it is now beginning to show signs, because I'm sorry to say, Barka, this TRP gold in this story. But at the same time, if the media was to make the distinction between investigation and gold digging, I would say, or dirt digging, I would say that would be tremendous.
And you know, it's not just television. There's an online world out there that can actually write a lot of things without any checks and balances. Mrinalini Deshmukh, as somebody who advised Indrani Mukerji, can you give us a sense of perhaps the most bewildering question at the heart of this? Why does an ex-husband who has a bitter divorce with his wife come to Mumbai to help her execute the murder of a child from another marriage? I mean, it just confounds the mind.
Absolutely bizarre is an understatement, as I would put it. Because I vividly remember when she'd come to me for the advice. At that point of time, she was very, very much concerned about her daughter. She had a lot of things against her husband, obviously, which typically happens in a divorce battle. And she was of the opinion that he was driving her nuts, he was driving her up the wall.
And when you say daughter, she was concerned about her daughter, Mrinalini, you mean Vidhi and not, of course, Sheena, whom she never acknowledged as her daughter.
No. No, Barka, I didn't even know that there was any marriage, rather I was not told, to be very specific, that there was any prior marriage to the Sanjeev Khanna, whether there were any children. And to be very honest, that was not my brief also. That was a very, I was there to advise her on the then current marriage with Sanjeev Khanna, what her rights were and what she could have done. And I think her main concern was, as I've said earlier, was the jurisdictional issue. Because everything was in Kolkata. Now that she was in Mumbai, would the courts in Mumbai have jurisdiction? Would she get the custody of the child? Because the father was very, very clear that he wanted the custody. So there were a whole lot of emotional issues, and there was a great anchor she had of an emotional support and a loving, caring person in her life in the name of Peter Mukerji, who was there to give her all the solace and the comfort and probably sort of lead her to whatever would be the best possible legal advice.
But that takes me, Mrinalini, to the next question, that in all this, the judgment has actually been about Indrani, maybe about her ex-husband. There is a sense that what Peter Mukerji knew or didn't know is not something that the media is discussing in the same way, that he's being given a relatively easier ride in this, as are the other two men, Mikhail and Rahul. Gayatri, what do you make of the media and the public narrative that has emerged around this story this far? Why is this a murder that has us all obsessed? Why is this a murder that, despite the distaste we all feel in even talking about it, we can't help but talk about it?
Well, Barkha, it has all the salient features, you know, of a really a made-for-movie, made-for-TV kind of film, right? It's murder, it's sex, it's about hidden marriages, it's potential incest. If you think about Rahul and Sheena sort of, you know, being together, even though they're stepsister and stepbrother, although nobody knew about that. So obviously the media is going to hone in on all these elements. I think what the problem in India is that our mainstream press and our tabloid press, I mean, it's sort of all very blurry, the lines. So you'll have national dailies reporting sort of on a, you know, with sort of gasping breath, you know, like minute-to-minute details, not minute-to-minute obviously, but daily details of things that are being fed to them maybe by the police, you know, drips and drabs. It's amazing the kind of details that we get to know as media, you know, on a daily basis. So I think that there is something to be said about media management itself. And then to your point about the narrative being solely focused on Indrani, I think it's because, you know, the world loves to pull down a woman who has, you know, potentially demonstrated that she's ambitious, that she has tried to make something of herself. I mean, if you read the narratives, it's all about this small town girl who tried to make it big and how dare she and all that. So there is this element of sexism, classism, all of that running through everything. She might be a totally diabolical human being. We don't know that. You know, the judgment is still out. We don't have all the evidence. But definitely that is the overarching narrative that we are being fed.
Yeah. And let me bring in Mrinalini, Nalini and Kiran on this. Mrinalini, I'll start with you. You said Peter Mukerji was his loving husband. He's now telling friends that, you know, he feels he was blindsided by that love he felt for his wife, that he absolutely knew nothing, that he now feels that he was, you know, he told one person that if this is all true, I've been living with a psychopath. But there are people who are stepping back and saying that actually the dots are not connecting. Why do you remove a driver who's helped you execute a murder? Why do you call an ex-husband whom you have nothing in common with and only friction to help you execute a murder? He suggests he's sleeping in the back of the car when all this is done. You know, the skulls are now found 3 years later. Is this case going to stand on strong ground for you in court, what we know so far?
No, definitely. I mean, this is something. But see, everybody is asking one important question, and I think even the defense is asking one important question, that where is the body? Yeah. Ultimately, when you are going to sort of accuse someone, or you're going to say that the person is a killer or is a murderer, it's a cold-blooded murder. So where is the body? Because today we are talking about some forensic things, some body which was completely charred or stoned or whatever the case may be, and the DNA things are still there. So that is one of the defenses that the defense will be taking, as I understand from the whole thing.
What was your impression of Peter Mukerji? Because, you know, he was the one...
No, I'll tell you.
Yeah, what was your impression?
Barkha, he came across as an extremely dignified person, wanting to, I've been very candid enough to say that he wants to sort of have life with this lady ahead, and that he really wants her to get out of this mess. And he thought that I would be a person, as being a lady, I would be able to understand her issues better, and of course guide her according to what the parameters of law are. And can I tell you something? He was head over heels, and this is what my perception was, as what a person coming to a lawyer's chamber was. It was completely head over heels, very supportive, very caring. She was also somebody who was gushing and blushing, you know, with a new flush of probably a new relationship that one has. So I think they really looked completely in love, and this was the person who wanted to save her from an ex-husband who was trying to really make her life miserable and hell, and then offer his hand so that he can, you know, sort of lead a life with her together.
But you know, the question, Mrinalini, today becomes, and Kiran and Nalini, I want you to come in here, he's not been questioned yet by the police, and Rakesh Maria today said we'll do that when necessary. He says he was in Rome on the night.
There must be some strategy.
Yeah, there may be some strategy.
I think, Barkha, there must be some strategy. I'm sure they are not going to not examine, because his statements are going to be extremely crucial, I can tell you, as a lawyer, because he's lived with this woman for the last 15 years, all said and done. So I do not think that they are not going to do it, but I think it may be that after they get sufficient evidence, and then they would probably even have in the police station, you know, one-to-one before the two of them to find out what the truth is.
Okay. Kiran, come in on the role of the police. You know, right now, very hands-on, sort of very focused, but there are the lapses that took place when a body is found in 2012. You know, and then now there have been allegations from Indrani Mukerji's lawyer's side today. How much credence should we give roughed up in police, home food not being allowed? I mean, these little complaints. I mean, they sound very entitled actually when you think of what other under trials go through.
The statement that the police has probably hit her or something, I think that's the normal usual statement. She could have asked for a medical checkup.
So we don't need to take, you believe that's just a lawyer-like sort of strategy?
I would think she could have asked there, I want to be examined, I've been hit, etc. It would have got known. So I think that's a usual thing. But I think at some stage, I'd like to leave it to their judgment. When do they bring in Peter? In as custodial statement. They need to have a statement.
They need him in custody?
It'll have to be custodial judgment if you really want to use it later on. So therefore, custodial statement at what stage is very vital. And I would leave it to the judgment, because the police commissioner himself, the chief is right there. So he knows it, because he has to steer it to the right direction. Now, the sense of timing, when does he bring him? He'll need to bring in at some stage, because I don't think he could be so very ignorant about whatever had been.
It's hard to believe, because he's now said that, you know, my son told me, I didn't believe him. My stepdaughter told me, I didn't believe her.
And the reason, Barkha, is that motive is still not clear. Motive is still confused, whether it's a relationship, whether it's financial. And financial aspects have still not been taken into account, and that takes longer.
Nalini, come in on what Gayatri said about the narrative that's building up. And, you know, nobody is holding a brief for Rani Mukerji by all accounts. Nobody who knew her had anything kind to say of her. And now she is a mother facing the charge of having murdered a daughter whom she cut into pieces.
And attempted to murder
her son
4 times.
But does that have anything to do with being a small-town woman with ambition? Are we getting things mixed up here? Why is that so much of the narrative in the Chatterati today?
You know, I think that you've actually put your finger on an extremely important point. Where are we going? I've been thinking that the one person, like 125 crore other Indians that I'd like to talk to, ask questions of is Indrani Mukerji.
Yeah.
Was it worth it? Was it worth trampling on everybody else, ruthless, with this naked, ruthless, super climbing ambition? Is it worth it today when you weep in court and when your daughter comes in, one daughter is buried,
Breakdown in court
one
today.
daughter is buried or burnt, and your son and your life in shambles? Was it worth it? I'd actually like to ask her parents in small town Guwahati, was it worth it not checking her at that time? But let me just come back, the general narrative on this question of being beaten up in the police custody. I actually I'm going to make a very cruel statement just now. I looked at her fingernails. They were painted. They were still painted from the 25th when she was arrested. So she was actually pretty well groomed, and I don't think that she's been beaten up or been mistreated. But on the other hand, I would say that the media is turning to character and conduct, as it will. Now, the basic thing is that media must remember that when they allude to anonymous sources, they are doing incalculable, terrible damage to the person they are talking about, even if it is Indrani Mukerji.
Because what's more disturbing is there have been stories about the daughter, about alluding to affairs she may have had with somebody else, alluding to things that we have decided not to carry on this channel.
Yeah, about the incest aspect, etc. What I'm going to say is that that there is the anonymous source has got the option of deniability. They will say, but I never said it. And also the media should remember that when they're reporting anything that the police says, the police can turn around and have a completely different version in court.
Because it's not on record.
Where does that
and these are the perils of reporting a case like this. Gayatri, come in on your take on the narrative. You made the point about mixing up the ambition of a small town girl, invading the elite, old elite, and actually in many ways Indrani Mukerji was the new elite of India. And we're seeing that whole class conflict also play out here. But what for you leaps out? How has Bombay high society responded to this? Is it like she's not one of her own, this is not us? Or is it a defensiveness that everybody's kind of looking at the high life and their low moments?
So, I mean, I think that Bombay society is certainly completely shocked and, horrified by what has unfolded. I really don't think, I mean, people come to Bombay to make it big, this is the city that treats everybody equally, in bit of a contrast to Delhi, let's say. So I don't think it's a fundamentally closed society, Bombay. I think that if someone comes here and does well and rises to the top, people applaud that kind of success. I think that in this case, it is just, everything is so salacious. The events that are unfolding that we see, read about or see on TV are so shocking that people just don't know what to make of it. Now, of course, we hear about the fact that, she might have been abused as a child. I mean, today's papers were talking about that. So we don't really know what the sort of the character or sort of the mental frame of mind was of Indrani Mukerji, and why she may or may not have done what she has been accused of doing. But I think that in general here in Bombay we can't believe that something like this has happened. Maybe Delhi had its Arushi and its Jessica Lal, but in a sense, after the Nanavati murder, this is maybe the first really big salacious thing that has hit us in the last few decades.
And of course, Nanavati took place well before the age of television and social media. So you can imagine how it would play out today. Mrinalini, your sense of Indrani Mukerji.
That's right.
Mrinalini, your sense, just last comments from all of you. Mrinalini.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Your sense of Indrani Mukerji.
Well, I can only talk about when I met her 15 years or 16 years back. So at that point of time, there was nothing that I really can talk about it now. But when I heard about it, of course, one of the media persons called me up and said that, and it was completely horrifying, because one had seen over the last 15 years through the media, her rise to the power, her rise to the media, the way they were always seen together as a couple. And no one ever thought that such a thing could have happened. So I think I'm as much horrified and shocked when I heard about it the first time as I think all of us over here
And did you get
in
the
this
sense,
studio or
Mrinalini,
otherwise.
did you get the sense that the divorce was very bitter? Did it seem to you that this man, Sanjeev Khanna, would ever come and help her with anything, leave alone a murder?
Never, never, never. The kind of animosity, the kind of things that were there between the two of them, the acrimony which was there between Sanjeev. I mean, this was the most horrifying thing that one could ever think of. I mean, it could have been any other person but Sanjeev Khanna, if you ask me, from what I had an interaction around 15 years back.
Many mysteries here. Many mysteries here. Quick 30 seconds to both of you.
Which is
Yeah,
why,
Kiran?
which is why very important why Sanjeev joined her.
Yeah.
You see that the
That
motive
could-
is still
that the
not
motive
clear,
is somewhere there
But I
in
think
that
there's one
mystery.
lesson in this. While to be parents is a privilege, parenting is a very big responsibility. I think that's what we are missing out. The larger message here is being parents is great privilege, but parenting, I think, is a very big responsibility, whether it's the poorer sections or the richer or the old. I think that's what India is losing out.
And overriding ambition, I think we have to then now, look inside and see where we are going. But
Would we say that if this were a man?
Of
Would
course,
we be so
of course, if
fixated
a man
on
goes on,
Indrani Mukerji's ambition?
If-
I mean, is the murder,
Barkha.
is her murderer's diabolic streak quite different from her ambition, or you're saying they're connected?
I would say, Barkha, if a man is murdering his son or his daughter, it would be absolutely the same. There's no gender difference here. But let me just make two quick points. One is, you talked about class differences. I have not heard one word about the lawyer representing the driver today.
Well said. Absolutely.
And the second thing is, we keep talking about this Mikhail and mysterious Mikhail.
Yeah.
I think if you've got a sword dangling on your head from babyhood to 25 years
would
old or
not be able
22
to
years,
take a position.
you're not going to be able to take against this very cold, distant woman whom you met at
Yeah.
the age of 15 or 17 or whatever it was.
Well, the mysteries multiply and the questions for the media also multiply in many ways. It's a delicate case to report on. You want to be responsible, but you still want to report every detail that you can responsibly. We leave it there. Mrinalini Deshmukh, Gayatri Rangachari Shah, Nalini Singh, Kiran Bedi. Pleasure to have you on the Buck Stops here. That's it on the program tonight. See you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.